All the best storytellers are using the same 7 techniques over and over again every single time. So we'll break them all down today in this order. I'll be giving you a lot of examples throughout the video because I feel those are how we learn the fastest. So if at any point you feel like you got it, feel free to fast forward to the next technique. Technique number 1, emotions. If a story is not evoking emotions, there is no story. Whenever you want to describe an emotion or a feeling, never describe it using words that state the emotion. If you are sad, you don't sit in solitude and put a sign that says, I'm sad. Everyone that can see you, they know that you are sad. Never say, I was sad. What you do is say, I was on the floor in the darkest corner of my room, facing my hand, crying like a baby. That is sad that they can feel. If you were devastated, you don't say, I was devastated. You say, as she was picking up her suitcase, crying her eyes out, she looked at me straight in the eyes and said, never again, and slammed the door. Happy is not, I was happy. I was at the airport. If I had a tail, it'd poke the eye of the lady behind me. Finally, the gate opened, and there she was. If you were nervous, you were rolling up the sleeve and glancing at the watch every 5 seconds. If he was ashamed, I watched colors drain off his face. So instead of stating the emotion bluntly, you give a picture where the audience can see the emotion. Use words to describe the scene where everyone under the sun knows what emotion is there to be felt. And as a result, they can actually feel it. And that's what will inject memorability in your content and in your storytelling. Here's another example. The CD fell out of an old book and I burst into tears. It was a game we used to play as kids every day, and now he was gone. Compare that to saying, I was sad because my brother was no longer around. It's incomparable, and that's how your audience feels. Image that you can paint inside their minds creates a feeling. Stating the feeling does not evoke anything. But using emotions without understanding dialogue will have about 40% of its true power. So technique number 2, the dialogue. I don't want to overcomplicate this for you. Dialogue works exactly the same as emotions. Do not say, Dad was proud. Tell viewers what he said. My dad looked me in the eyes, arms open wide as never before, and said, you're a man now. Instead of saying the manager was angry, say, as I was leaving the office, I heard him say, he has until 15th of this month to pick himself up or he's out. Instead of saying, Mom and Dad were fighting, say, finally, a moment of silence after 15 minutes of yelling. But then I've heard Dad saying, tomorrow I'll let the kids know I'm leaving. It hits completely differently than explaining the conversation from the third-person perspective. Words create images. Images evoke emotions. So never tell the viewer what to feel. Give a visual scene or internal or external dialogue that lets them make the conclusion themselves. Instead of saying, I was fucked, give a scene where they say, holy crap, he was fucked. These 2 techniques alone will take your storytelling to another stratosphere. But what do you do when you have to share important but boring details? That's where technique number 3 comes into play. Pope in a pool. Or even better, Margot Robbie in a bathtub. Look at this. This is one of the best movies about Wall Street ever made, The Big Short. Margot Robbie is giving the context of the movie while in a bathtub, sharing technical jargon that's extremely boring. Now, with that scene going on, she can read the McDonald's menu and we, especially guys, would be watching it with unflinching attention. So, whenever you absolutely have to give a context, especially one that's boring but necessary, use visuals to make viewers wonder, why is Pope fully dressed in the pool? Or have them enjoy Margot Robbie wondering if she's gonna get up just enough. And anyway, here's what's crucial for this technique. Whatever visual you're showing, it has to be intriguing enough, weird or odd enough that subconsciously raises the question inside the viewer's mind, opening the loop, asking themselves, why is he showing me a car speeding while there's a girl riding a bike? Or 4 men in ties and suits inside the lake up to their necks? Or guy in an orange chemical protection suit at the beach? As long as your scene is raising questions they want answers for, you have the luxury of sharing boring but important details. And that's why we have to nail down the technique number 4, or you pretty much have nothing. Understanding what people care about will make it literally 10,000 times easier to tell a good story. I'll give you an extreme example so you can grab the importance of it immediately. If I tell you I was walking around my neighborhood and Steven Gerrard and Alan Shearer kidnapped me, you probably wouldn't give a crap, right? But if I told that Gerrard and Shearer kidnapped me to Liverpool Newcastle fans or England soccer fans, the traffic in the entire country would stop so people could watch it. It would go viral literally in 30 seconds. A story of how you discovered best beef on the planet would be a huge hit for meat lovers and a massive disconnect for vegans. A story of how you created a goofy TikTok video that went viral is a huge hit for 15 years old and massive disconnect for 4-year-old business owners. Meeting Peyton Manning on a camping trip, NFL fans would be glued to their screen. People from Europe wouldn't have a clue what the big deal. If you're interested in running Facebook ads, a story about how I blew up the entire college savings my parents gave me testing Facebook ads would be a massive hit for you. If not, retention graph takes a nosedive. But there are visuals. Again, if I'm telling that story about Facebook ads from a yacht, that's a different thing, right? It opens the loop by raising a question. If he blew up everything, how's he on a yacht? You immediately assume subconsciously that you might learn something from listening to my story, to my content, and there's a payoff coming. Every sentence and every visual you put inside your story does one of the two things. It either connects the dots or raises questions. Everything else is fluff. However, the crucial thing to understand is to never connect the dots before you raise enough questions. You will lose the audience as soon as they think that they can assume what's going to happen next. Here is a question that is responsible for literally hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars in the entertainment industry. If you paused your video at absolutely any point, can you answer this question? What is the question my viewers are waiting to get the answers for right now in this moment? This leads us beautifully into technique number 5, but then versus and then. Curiosity loops and conflict for maximum retention. If you're into storytelling, you've probably seen the creators of South Park explaining this to NYU grads. Open loops drive curiosity, stakes raise tension. If you say, she just walked outside 7 months pregnant, and that's the last time I saw her, or all I heard was screeching tires and a scream. Conflict opens the loop. Resolving the conflict closes the loop. Main character being punished for something he didn't do, but keeping his mouth shut. Whenever there's an obvious injustice, but you or the character decides to keep your mouth shut, everyone in the audience would literally pay to know why you didn't speak the truth. At that point, simply adding, if you're wondering why I kept my mouth shut, it was because of my mom, or my sick grandpa, or my best friend in a wheelchair. That's another open loop, another unanswered question. Conflict does that perfectly. The easiest way to create conflict is by using but then instead of and then. Whenever a reader, viewer, or listener feels they know what's coming, they lose interest. And then lets them predict things, but then pulls the floor below their feet, making them wonder what the hell is going on now. The best warrior in town decides he won't go to war, but then his son gets killed. The lead serial killer hangs his rifle and retires, but then the head of mafia kills his dog. Now you can take a random dog and raise stakes and tension and conflict to the maximum by making that dog the most important thing in that man's life. And you do it like this. It can be a gift from a wife or a daughter or a son. But if you add to that it is his late wife or later or late son, the stakes of someone killing that dog just 1000x. You can do it with a teddy bear or with a necklace, whatever feels seemingly completely unimportant, you can make it huge by adding subtle details to your story. So open loop or a curiosity loop is simply a set of questions that arise in the viewer's mind as they see and hear what you just presented. A set of questions they have to get the answers for. If you're a creator, there's this new way to get monetized on social media modeled after Uber and Airbnb, and it's literally catching fire. CourseAsAService.com is a way to take full ownership of a premium done-for-you school membership. Keep 100% of every sale and 100% of monthly recurring revenue. Host live calls with members to increase your exposure. Get access to something called the CreatorsMind once a month with other big creators, pre-made email templates, promos and content ideas, and even co-create the courses to give your touch and add modules. Think of Airbnb and Uber. That's happening right now in the online space. It's the future of monetization, and it literally allows any channel of any size to monetize immediately. Watch the video at the first link below as it explains everything in a bit more detail. The twin brother of open loops, technique number 6, the stakes. Let's break them down in simple terms. Number 1, timers. In the realm of stakes and tension, time pressure is undisputed king. If Hollywood actors could deactivate bombs in 40 years, they sell 7 tickets for that movie. When the volcano blows up and the storm is destroying everything, one of the family members gets his leg jammed between 2 rocks. Without the storm and the lava coming, no one gives a crap. If there was no train coming when an actress gets her feet stuck on the rails, who would care? All of these are basically the same. We have to solve a problem in a certain period of time, or something extremely bad happens, or we are losing an extremely important opportunity. Here's an example without visuals. My goal was to propose to her. I got the ring, put on my best clothes. She agreed to meet me after me being a jackass to her for months. We were supposed to meet at 3, but... So you raise tension with time. Tight deadlines, debt collectors knocking on your door, landlord coming to collect late rent. In pursuit of happiness, Will Smith has only 2 machines to sell. One gets stolen, and his landlord is knocking on his doors every evening, evicting them from the apartment, plus he has a son to take care of. In the same movie, he's solving a Rubik's Cube on a car ride. That's on purpose. Tight deadlines raises tension. And the cost of not solving it means that he loses the only job opportunity. If he had 3 months to solve the Rubik's Cube, we wouldn't care. For example, I lost my job 2 months ago, and I had exactly 14 days of food supplies available for kids. So either I figure out YouTube or I go back to 9 to 5. Missing out on learning something right now before it's all over the social media and you miss another big opportunity to change your life, that's a different story. Just think of Bitcoin in 2013. If I don't act right now, it will be gone. And lastly, in the realm of stakes, you have context. Imagine watching a billionaire gambler buying another set of chips for $10,000. No one cares. However, if a poor family father sells his granddad's watch to return $10,000 his son owes to the mafia, and that boy takes the money and sits at the poker table, it's a different story. Stakes made it different. What is on the line within a certain context? A billionaire loses nothing if he goes all in. The boy loses everything. In simple terms, stakes are what's there to be lost by completing a certain behavior or by failing to complete it. And time puts it into overdrive. Let's move on to the technique number 7. We cannot talk about storytelling without covering the hook. Here are the rules of a master hook. First, in the context of YouTube, your hook starts before the video. Your hook is the title and the thumbnail, not the opening line of the video. You will have to get people to click in order to see the first line of the video. Treat your titles and your thumbnails as the hook. Next, your hook needs to revolve around something your audience cares about. Third, questions work wonders. Was your dad too loud when you were young? Number 4, odd context give you importance to seemingly random things that can wait. Your dog failing to obey a simple stop command doesn't mean much. At 60 miles per hour, a screaming truck comes around the corner and your dog fails to obey a simple no command. That is context. 5 is contrast. Common belief versus a new thing. Losing weight doesn't work for everybody, especially with your hormones out of whack, unless you perform a breathing technique to regulate your hormones before the exercises. Now all of a sudden, people like this. And all of these are for a particular type of person who cares about the particular thing that you're sharing. If you don't own a dog, you don't care. If you had a dad who was yelling when you were young, you're hooked. If you failed at losing weight, the same. Until you become someone people are interested in and want to know more about your life and what happens to you, you have to pick stories people already care about. You need to make sure that intrigue, curiosity, and potential stakes are already built in. A good example would be airport security. or manager calls me in his office, or debt collectors knocking at my door and my 4-year-old opens up. So here's how to think about it. How do I make people care with one sentence? Especially at the very beginning, we have just one, maximum 2 sentences we can say, and they either listen or they drop. My little girl just learned how to swim, and we were first time a few yards off the shore. 20 yards away, I see a fin show up and vanish. You take out a photo of your friend saying all he ever wanted was approval from his dad. The needle was the only way to numb the pain. To craft a master hook, you need all of the 7 techniques we covered. Raise questions in your audience's minds. Raise stakes, create tension, evoke emotions. Put a pope in a pool for visuals. That is winning psychology. Show emotions, do not tell. Show internal and external dialogues. Use odd visuals to make them wonder. Open curiosity loops. Raise stakes and create tension with time and with what's on the line. Master contrast in hooks. Understand what your audience truly cares about, and you'll be printing viral social media content on demand.